Welcome to the Elevating Funeral Service podcast. If you want to run a successful funeral home, cemetery, or pet cremation service, you don't have to be the one that has the lowest price. You do need to be the one that offers the most value, provides the best customer experience, and clearly communicates that in your marketing. On this weekly podcast, Ellery and Welton will show easy ways to demonstrate value to families and create differentiation that helps you stand out from the competition. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Elevating Funeral Service. I'm your host, Ellery Bowker. I'm with my good friend and co-host, Welton Hong. And today we're going to talk about general price lists, and we're going to have a lot of fun doing it. So let's jump right into it. Welton, how are you doing today?
Doing awesome. Upbeat, as always.
Yeah, good. Yeah, things are great here. The weather's warming up a little bit. I mean, summer's kicked off, so hopefully we'll be allowed to go out and enjoy it here. So things are moving along. I posted something on LinkedIn yesterday, and I said that this time last year we had been to, I think, 10 trade shows already.
Wow.
And I was tired of it. And now, fast forward to this year, I would pay double to go to a trade show right now. I am so ready to go see our customers and our vendors and just go out and just get out of this office and just maybe not really rub elbows, but go rub elbows with some people. So,
bump elbows.
Yeah, bump elbows. That's right. Well, anyway, listen, we're going to have a great episode today. What we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about general price lists. For those of you listening, this is going to be a really visual episode. So if you get a chance, go back to YouTube and watch it. We're going to try to put some of the examples that we're going to have today in the show notes, but you're going to see a lot of them on the video. So if you get a chance, go back to YouTube and watch that, and that'll be on the website. Kind of just as a precursor, a couple of months ago or early on, we did a few episodes on funeral pricing. And one of the things that we talked about was how to show pricing online, what's the right way to do it, is it understandable, et cetera. And one of the facets of that was your general price list. And we found that a lot of funeral homes will put their general price list on there. I believe California, you're required to, and I think some other states are probably going to be coming online soon as a requirement. With all that being said, Welton, what I wanted to do is I wanted to talk to our listeners today about, the general price list in general. Are you using it in a way that's most advantageous to you, right? Or not? And then if we're going to put it online, if we're going to hand it out, what's the best way we can present that?
Right.
We have a lot of really cool ideas, but what we see, I do want to say this here, because we're talking about stuff that's regulated. I do want to say that this is not legal advice. Welton's not an attorney. I'm not an attorney. Nothing here is construed about legal advice. So we're not going to talk about, we're not going to provide legal advice, and we're not going to discuss whether or not prices are just or unjust. So any of the ones you see online that we're going to show, we're not talking about the actual value of what you're offering. We're not talking about the pricing, whether it's good or bad at all. We're going to be talking basically about presentation. So how can you use this GPL to your advantage? So right off the bat, what do we see with GPLs out there now, Welton? What's your general take on them?
They're just like the wine list. I can never understand them. Okay. When I go to, you probably know we love to dine, my wife and I. Yeah. Love to sometimes splurge here and there, go to high-end restaurants. And even though I consider myself, I study up quite a bit on different types of wine, I still cannot read those super thick wine folders they bring over. Yeah. Always laid out in a way I have no idea how to understand them. Yeah. And just GPLs are similar to that. I cannot understand them as a consumer.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I'm not a wine drinker, and so I would think it would just say red or white, like there would be two buttons to push. So I think the same thing. I think they're confusing. And I think I understand them, to some degree because I've been in the funeral business a while, but I think that consumers are probably confused by them. I think a lot of them have really bad designs. And I think, in my opinion, and one of the reasons why we wanted to do this episode was we believe wholeheartedly that there's a lot of missed opportunities. Right. And I guess we'll start by saying, you have to give the GPL out, right? To comply with the Federal Trade Commission, the funeral rule, you have to give it out. And so my thought was, if you have to give it out, why not, make it the best presentation possible?
It's a marketing piece.
Right. And you're going to give it out to two different groups of people. I think you're going to give it out to the people that you're serving. So they're in your arrangement room. You start discussing pricing. The GPL has to come out. So that's one group. You already have them. And then the other group are going to be the people that are considering your funeral home. Maybe they walked in, maybe they want it online, maybe they called and you're mailing it to them. But in either case, when you're handing it to them, if it's to a person that you're not serving yet, it's an opportunity to market what you do.
Right.
If it's to a person you're already serving, it's a way to reinforce what you offer, right? And to convey that value. Okay. Right. So right off the bat, let me throw one big question out there. Why are GPLs so ugly? So what do you think? Well, and listen, I love funeral directors. I love funeral homeowners. I mean, we love this business.
Yes.
But if it's the one thing that's just doesn't get the attention it deserves, it's the GPL. Why is that?
Well, if for me, I'll probably still, if I just type it out, it will look just like that. I'm guessing if I weren't hiring somebody professionally to design it, it will still look the same as what most of the GPLs out there look like. Just like it were typed out like a typewriter.
Right.
Yeah.
My thought is that they look the way they look, and I'm going to say that the large majority of them, because I've looked at hundreds of these things, are what I would consider not well designed. I'm not going to call them ugly. That was just a joke. But they're not well designed because I think that if the intent of the GPL, or if you're viewing it as the funeral home owner, if you're viewing the GPL as a compliance tool, right? Like I have to do this, then you're not going to put the design into it like you would if you're building a website, or if you have a billboard. If you have a billboard, you consider a billboard a marketing piece, right? You want it well designed. It's out in front of everybody. It's beautiful. You want your best foot forward. So if you're thinking about the GPL as a compliance tool, you're not going to invest the time and energy into making it nice. So what I think you ought to do is, if you can, I think if we can convince you to just have a little bit of a mind shift about it. So let's not think about it as a compliance tool. Let's think about it as a marketing piece.
Yes.
And if you do that, then you might think about redesigning it.
Right. I totally agree.
That's fair?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to have some fun, and we're going to do a couple of teardowns. Now, these are real funeral homes. If you happen to be listening, we don't have many listeners yet. We're getting started. But if you happen to be listening and happens to be your funeral home on here, I am not calling you out. No. I'm using this as an example only. Everything here is constructive because there's always opportunity to improve in every business, including ours. Okay. Yes. So we're not throwing darts. But what I want to do is I want to take this from good, better, and best. So I'm going to show you one that could use a lot of improvement. Right. Then we'll show one that's decent. And then we'll show a couple of examples of what I consider really, really well done that are getting a lot of mileage out of it.
Right.
So let me start with something that I think is a disconnect. And I wanted just to show you this. I'm not sharing my screen yet. So let me do this. Got it. Okay. So you can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Beautiful website. Right.
Yes.
Shout out to Funeral One. They did a great job on this website. Beautiful website.
Beautiful.
But if you go here, so if I'm the consumer, and again, I always try to look at things through the lens of the consumer, right? On the copy, is it written for the consumer? Are the visuals for the consumer? Can the consumer understand it? So gorgeous website, beautiful facility. But if I go down here to resources and I find the pricing guide, and I go to download the pricing guide, and it's this big, beautiful website, beautiful funeral home. And I go to this price list and I hit general price list, and then bam.
Wow.
This is not good. Again, I don't know who this is. Please do not think we're throwing darts. We're not. But this is where a consumer, to me, as a consumer, I would say, this doesn't match the presentation that I saw before I click that link, right?
Oh, this looks photocopied as well.
It has to be, because I don't think you can type at a 30-degree angle. So,
I'm sorry for laughing.
I think it must be a photocopy.
Right.
And the problem that I have with this one is to me, it just doesn't match, right? That website. But taking that aside, that there's a bit of a disconnect there, I think it just doesn't do much to convey trust. No. I don't think it does much to make me less confused. No. And the one thing I know about marketing, Welton, is presentation is everything.
Oh, yeah, it is.
And a confused mind will always say no. So this to me is confusing, and I tend to run away from confusing.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I try to preserve my brain cells. I am naturally attracted to things that are simple and understandable.
Beautiful. Yeah.
And when you're talking about something like death, and you're talking about something that's a high ticket item that I am probably apprehensive about to begin with, I'm scared, I'm nervous. And then I see this, and this is just a big ball of confusion to me.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm going to turn away, and I'm going to survive by running, right? I'm going to go in another direction.
Oh, yeah.
So while this may be compliant, this is not helpful.
No.
I don't believe this is helpful for a consumer. Okay. Do you agree?
I agree. This looks like a restaurant menu as well, like a Chinese takeout to-go menu. That's folders. It does look like one.
Yeah, I do. I just, and I'm not even going to get into the language or, the content of this. I'm just going to say that it's just this big wall of text.
Yeah.
And it's very, very confusing. And so unless I have to read this, I'm probably just going to turn around and go in another direction.
Right.
So I think this is a missed opportunity, in my opinion.
Definitely.
All right, let me pull up another one here.
I agree. Just the brand, such a beautiful website, and then suddenly to this, it's totally disconnect.
Yep. Okay, so here is, just a disconnect. Okay, so here's a better one.
Mm-hmm.
It's not great, but it's better.
Right.
So it's got the logo on there. It's the content is spaced out. And again, and I apologize for those of you that are listening, I'm trying to sportscast this. And the first one was just bad. Okay. And we'll have some examples of that in the show notes. And this one here, I'm looking at it, and the design's a little bit better. It's got a logo on there. It's got the tagline on there. It's got all the compliance on there. Prices are effective as of certain dates. It's got a selected logo on there that shows some trust. And then, it's nice. It's not bad, right? It's not bad. This one is 13 pages long. Again, not bad. I like they have this why select this funeral home.
Right.
I love that. And I thought about this, Welton, that if I owned a funeral home, how would I design my GPL? Right. I'd have my compliance. I would be compliant. I would have all the disclosures necessary. But the first thing I would do, I would kind of give them my brand promise, right? My promise as the funeral home owner, like, here's what you're going to get from me, right? I understand what you're going through. I'm empathetic. We're here to help you. This funeral home right here does a really good job of that. Right here. They talk about being family owned. They talk about what makes them different. I like that.
Oh, yeah.
They have a couple images.
Of the owner. I'm sorry. Also pictures of the family.
That's Yep. Absolutely. Right.
Yeah.
Yep. There's a connection right there. There's the family, the children, et cetera. It's very, it's easy to connect with that. And I like what you said on an earlier episode, pictures mean trust, right? Or faces mean trust. So they've got some nice stuff in there. They got some images of their building, their promise, their core values. And then they get into the offerings. And what I really like about this is in the ones that I've studied, and I'm saying that term loosely, I've largely just kind of looked at these things in passing, kind of from a lens of a consumer. And I like the ones that explain the packages first, and then the details second.
Makes sense.
Because it helps me to understand kind of what a service offering looks like. And then through the line items, I'm able to kind of see and go back and kind of go back and forth. For me, I like the way they do that. This one here does a really good job doing that. They also on here have some images when they're talking about some of their personalization items.
That's great.
And they talk about balloon releases, candle lighting, tributes, dove releases, bagpipers, all that kind of stuff. And then they get into some items where I think that if you, and I don't know, you probably feel the same way, Welton. I see a lot of funeral homes try to cram this thing into 2 pages.
Right.
Right. An 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. I know the FTC does not. The FTC tells you what you have to say, but they don't tell you that it has to be a bad design. Nope. They don't tell you that it has to be limited to a certain number of pages. So if it takes you 13 pages to tell your story, use 13 pages. Right. Who cares?
Wow.
I would rather have too many pages than not enough pages.
Right.
And what I like, what a lot of the GPLs that I'm looking at, and particularly this one here, it just doesn't say, you know, tribute video and a price. It has a paragraph on here about how that thing is going to help you honor your loved one.
Yes.
It's just value statements. So a lot of their personalization items, they talk about that on here. That's really good. And I'm just, again, for those of you listening, I'm kind of scrolling through these. I like in here that they've got some grief support stuff on the GPL, right? It's nothing that they're paying for. Or the consumer doesn't have to pay for it, but it's on there as well. And I think this funeral home does a really good job of understanding that they have to be compliant, which they are, but then they also are using this to talk about the other things they offer, right? All of their offerings, and then also how all of this kind of ties in together to help honor that loved one. What are your thoughts on this one?
Love this. It's just clean, descriptive. I know what I'm going to be getting.
Yeah.
Packages first.
Yeah, I think, I mean, this one could use some help, I think, on the typography, right? And kind of the font and how it's laid out a little bit. And if you think about, for those of you that are listening, think about the way you would read an article, you know, in Time Magazine, right? Or the New York Times. It's just text, lots and lots of text. And now contrast that with a blog post now. Right, blog posts now are designed for readability, right? So they're throwing out the traditional journalism rules of you know, paragraphs, indentations, and all these other things. Now it's all about readability. It's scannability and readability. And so in this one here, it gets a little compact. I would if I was coaching this funeral home here, I would probably give them some ideas on breaking some of this stuff up a little bit more. But all in all, and compared to the last one, this is miles ahead. Yeah, so it's doing a decent job. I'm about 4 pages down here, and I haven't seen a picture yet, so it's just a lot of text. You know, I mean that I think could be broken up a little bit better. I think it could be designed a little bit better, but far and away, you know, much better than the other one is.
All right.
Okay. All right. Now I'm going to get into. I'm going to show you a couple of awesome ones. So here, I'm going to give you guys one pro tip right now. And if you're not watching this, I can explain it. If you're going to download a GPL, pardon me, if you're going to have a GPL that's downloaded, you have the ability to name that file.
Yes.
Okay. And so I've got 3 GPLs in front of me right now. One file name is GPLC. One is 2015 HFH _ GPL. And the other one is GPL website -H- 8-31 -12 -PDF. Now, let's say that I'm shopping. Let's say that I go and I download GPLs from different funeral home websites, and I've got them all in a folder. I have no idea what funeral home this is. So just a quick pro tip, name your funeral home name in the file name. So call it, you know, Welton Hong Funeral Home Price List 2020.pdf. Something descriptive. Okay, anyway, that was just an aside. Just a pro tip. So let me show you what I think is one of the better ones that I saw. This one here immediately is a beautiful GPL, right? Beautiful pictures. It looks like a website.
Yeah,
right. It looks like a website. So the person that did this one, and I'll give them a shout out, it's Harper and Sons out of New Haven, Indiana, harperfuneralhome.com. Great GPL, beautiful. There's evocative pictures, you know, very nice. And this is the only one I've seen that is a table of contents.
Wow.
It'll show you where you can go, where you can jump around in it. Very, very well designed. So it talks about like pricing policies, disclosures, professional services, package offerings, all of the same things that the other ones have, just a different design, right? Just, it's not what you're saying, it's how you're saying it, how you're displaying it. Presentations, everything. This thing wins hands down compared to the other ones. Now, again, think about this from the consumer standpoint. Let's say I'm shopping. Let's say I've downloaded 3 of these. If I'm pulling all 3 of these up, it's just like having a website. Which one's going to get the most trust? It's going to be the most beautiful website, the one that's the most well-designed with the best written copy, etc. Okay. They go into right away. They go into here about why attribute's important, right? Just really, really, really well done. I'm going to put this one in the show notes as well. Here was one of the most interesting things about this. One of the challenges that cremation has right now is that people that are providing cremation, and particularly the cemeteries, is educating the consumer on the fact that there are memorialization options other than scattering or the mantle.
Yes.
This one immediately on this GPL, they have about 6 different pictures on here. Smart. That even without words, let you see all the different ways that you can memorialize your loved one without taking them home and putting them on a mantle. So they've got burial, niches, family gardens, companions. I mean, just all of it. It's just a beautiful, beautiful pictures, everything.
Right.
Then they go into the pricing disclosures, all the compliance. Again, it's just by design, right? It's same content, better design. And then they go in there and they're pricing their services. They talk about everything. But even Welton, just look at the way this is laid out, like the font. Without getting into the whole designer geek speak here, right? Because I could geek out on this all day long because I'm a designer. It's a sans serif font, right? There's a reason that when you read a New York Times article, there's a certain font. It's readability. So this is, they've got different sizes for what they want to focus on. It's just beautiful. Really, really well done.
So easy to read. Yeah.
So easy to read.
Yeah.
The language is clean. It's simple. It's easy to understand. Again, it just looks like a web page.
Yeah. Images in the background. I love that. Yeah, I love images in the background. So it's not just a bunch of black text. Yeah.
Yep. It's just, again, please go back and look at this, because the way I'm looking at this one right now, you're seeing just these blocks, right? And these blocks are service blocks, right? So even forwarding of remains to another funeral home, like that's got its own little section. On almost all GPLs I've ever seen, that's one line item, right? With a line item above it and a line item below it. It's just a line item. This is a service they're providing, so they're displaying it as a service on this document.
Right.
Awesome. Great job.
Oh yeah.
Great job. Okay. Then they have traditional funeral service, a beautiful full page dedicated to one package. And if you're driving, hear me out. This thing says, traditional funeral service, best value, and has this bulleted items and nice big font, has the price on there, and it's not cheap. And then they have a beautiful display of kind of what this thing looks like. It's just, this is so well done.
It's like a one-page ad.
It really is. It looks like a full-page ad that you would find in a glossy magazine. And then they go down, they're showing pictures of caskets, pictures of register books. So again, a lot of GPLs will say video tribute and a price. This has video tribute, and it has a picture of people standing around a television screen in a visitation room with a picture of a video going. Okay. Very nice. Very nice. So anyway, I'm not going to belabor the point. This is just a really well-designed GPL. Oh, yeah. So we looked at an ugly one, not so nice one. We looked at a decent one, and then we looked at one that was really, really well designed. Right. So now what I'm going to do is I want to kind of get into some suggestions, Welton, that we can have for the funeral homes. I'd love to have some takeaways. We're not going to make this episode too long, but I want to have some takeaways that we can give them. So if you want to go back and rethink your GPL from a compliance tool to a marketing piece, how can we do that? I've got a couple suggestions, Welton, and then you can, throw yours out there, hash these out with me. If you disagree, love to hear that, of course. What we're talking about here is low cost, high impact. This is easy to do. It's easy wins. I'm going to make the first suggestion, Welton, that you let, and you know what you could do? You could probably for $75, you could rethink your whole GPL. What if you went and got 3 $25 Amazon gift cards, and you went to somebody in your church, right? Or somebody in your golfing group.
Right.
Here's the key. Nobody that works for you.
Right.
Right. Part-time, full-time, nobody that works for you and nobody that's related to you or related to any of your employees, right? You want to say, you know what? We are trying to think about our GPL as a consumer would think about it.
Right.
I'm skewed because I've been serving families for 30 years. I need a perspective that doesn't go to funeral homes all the time, that isn't in a funeral home working every day. Would you mind reading this and tell me 2 things? Tell me what made sense to you and what didn't make sense to you. And there's no right or wrong answer. And for your time, here's a gift card.
Right.
It'll be the best money you've ever spent.
Oh, yeah.
Because you can get really honest feedback on it.
Right.
What do you think about that idea?
I love the idea. And I would also just do a little secret shopping, looking at your competitors' GPL on their website, if you can download it. Also give that to the same groups and see, hey, out of these 3 or 4 firms, which one would you like a little bit more? If pricing is all coming down to be the same, which one influences you to be to actually want to call them a little bit more.
Yeah, great idea. Great idea. I would suggest doing it with several different people, right, that don't know each other, so you can get it. And what I wouldn't do is I wouldn't have it open-ended. I wouldn't say, what do you think? I would say, tell me 5 things that you understood, right? Or what did you understand? And more importantly, what didn't you understand?
Right.
And then I would compare those.
Right.
And then maybe what you could do, excuse me, is after you rewrite it, which is my next tip, you can do it again. Not to the same people, but do it to a different group of people and see if the same things are in the columns, right? Are people still confused about this? Does this still make sense to them?
Right.
And if you do this for a few $100, honestly, you can get really valuable feedback.
Oh, yeah.
Look, I'm a glutton for punishment. When we do surveys with our customers, I ask them for brutal honesty. Like, I mean, make me cry.
Right.
Because I know that it's going to hurt. And I've had some tell me, some have made me cry almost. Well, I'm not kidding you. But at the end of the day, you know,
it's real feedback, honest feedback.
Real honest feedback. I don't need people telling me how great we are. Right. That's the last thing I need, you know, because that just swells my head up and I don't work very hard. Okay. So you agree with that then? So get outside counsel. Totally. I mean, you agree it's money well spent.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
All right. So the second tip I would have would be to rewrite it. All right. Now, listen, unless you want Josh Slocum from the Funeral Consumers Alliance chasing you down, be compliant.
Right.
You know, obviously, full disclosures, do everything you're supposed to do, but rewrite it in any language that you don't have to have. In other words, if the FTC does not say you have to use this wording, then think about it from the lens of a consumer. Are you writing it in a way that they understand it? Now, we've talked before about using words like, you know, loved one versus body, right? Transfer into our care versus removal. Right. Those are easy wins, but I'm just saying, does it make sense to somebody, right? And don't assume that if you have a line item that they understand what that line item is. So if necessary, have a sentence underneath it. Here's what this is. Here's what this is. Here's what this is. Yep. And I think if you invite some people to look at your GPL and they say this was confusing, you know how you fix that? You explain it, right? Write one sentence underneath it. What is this? And see if you can make the waters a little less muddy just with a sentence or 2. Okay. All right. Third tip. This is the best advice I can give you. And we've been on here for almost 25 minutes. This is the best advice I can give you right now. Pay a designer. Okay. If you have Photoshop on your computer, that does not make you a designer.
Nope.
Okay. Aunt Sally may have gone to college to be a designer. It doesn't make her a designer, right? Design is, I think it's innate. I think you're born with it. I think you either have a good eye or you don't have a good eye. Set your ego aside, you know, tell Aunt Sally you love her, but go pay a real designer to design it. It will be the best money you spent. If you're watching this and you look at that, if you look at that GPL that I showed you, the last one, that was a designer. That's somebody that understands color and typography and spacing and visual. Just that's the design.
Beautiful. That's just a beautiful marketing piece.
And you know what? And listen, look, if you want to level up any part of your life or your funeral business, it's going to cost you money, right? It's going to be pain involved. Level up anything, you know, there's going to be pain involved. So suck it up, pay the money. If you have, I don't care if it costs you $2,000, which it probably won't. But look, if someone says they'll do it for $100, don't give them the money. Because a real designer is not going to do this for $100. You're probably looking at least $500 to get this done. Maybe more. It'll be the best money you spent, because I think it'll win calls for you. That's what I think. I think it will. You agree with that?
Oh yeah, definitely. Just pay a designer, get a pro.
Designs win. I mean, look, have you ever gone to a really ugly website?
Yeah.
Because someone thought that they can, because I can build a website doesn't mean you should.
No.
Right? I mean, it doesn't make you a designer. And it's not about you. It's about that consumer. So if you're going to a really ugly website and you look at it and you say, man, this is ugly, that's why you should pay a designer. Okay. This was one that you had, Welton. Explain to them how they can do a better job online. If their GPL is online, talk about that.
Yeah, if it's on your website, make sure, first of all, it's easy to understand the layout. Obviously, you want to make sure it's easy to download. But the problem with the download PDF version on a website, most of them are using this little tiny device. It's just a little bit hard to read a PDF document from such a little tiny phone. So definitely you want to make sure you're replicating that on your website. Because on your website, most of the websites these days are responsive in design. They're mobile friendly. So all the text will automatically enlarge on a mobile device. It will just look a lot more pleasant on the eyes on a website. So definitely have your PDF version so you can download it. They can print it out if they want to, but you got to duplicate that on your website and make sure it's mobile friendly.
Great advice. So basically have your GPL on there, but have it as a web page.
Yeah.
Have it as a web page, because that is responsive. That will change the size. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you know what too? A lot of people don't like downloading stuff.
No.
You know, I mean, to me, I mean, and I think we even mentioned that on one of the other episodes. The download's fine. Just don't have just the download.
Right.
Yeah. Great job. Last tip I'll give you, and this goes with a couple different things here. Create a video. If you really want to instill trust with the consumer looking at your GPL, do what you would do if you're in the arrangement room.
Right.
So if I'm in the arrangement room and you're explaining that GPL to me, what if you just made a video? What if you picked your phone up and you turned it on? It doesn't have to be professional, you know, just authentic. So turn your phone on and say, hey, I want to make a quick video and explain to you the different parts of this GPL. And here's what all these different parts mean. It can be 3 minutes long, it can be 5 minutes long. But this, just like you're paying a designer, this is a one-time thing. And this is free. It doesn't cost you anything to do this. It's completely free. It's probably the lowest cost and highest impact thing you could do in regards to the GPL. And something you could do today and put it on your website. So if you go to the page where there's a GPL, and in my opinion, I agree with Weldon, it should be a page. It shouldn't just be a link somewhere. Pardon me. So go to the GPL page. The page will be on the GPL, right? Or the page will be the GPL, and have a download link there. And then also have a video. There's a video that says, you know, the general price list explained, or how to understand a general price list. That's probably how I would title it. How to understand a general price list. People will click that thing. But then, Weldon, what if you took it one step further? What if you made that video, you put it on your website, and then in the printed GPL, somewhere on there, preferably at the beginning, I mean, after you do your disclosures, and just have an empathy statement. Just say something along the lines of, we know that this can be confusing, right? The you know, law requires that we have a lot of this language may be confusing to you. I've made a video, or we've made a video that makes this easy to understand. Go here.
Yes.
And that could be on it. And so if you're emailing, or if you're handing that GPL to somebody and they walk out of your building and they're looking at it and they say, oh, here's a video, right? Or if you really want to get nice, put a QR code on there, right? Somebody can scan the QR code and then pull the video right up on their phone. Or if you're emailing the GPL to somebody, send them along with that, send them a link to the video. So just help them, right? Be the guide.
Oh, yeah.
And at the end of the day, if there's a comparison going on, they're going to remember who the guide is. They're going to remember
your faces too. Again, they saw you.
Yep. Yeah. They're gonna have a downloaded GPL with your name in the file. Right? Your file name's gonna be the name. There's gonna be a video. It's just a presentation, and you're the guide. And so at the end of the day, it's not always the lowest price. We talk about that all the time. It's gonna be the one that has the best messaging, the clearest messaging, and the one that's the most helpful at the end of the day that I think wins. So, well, this one's been fun. I love it. I see so many ways in the funeral business that low cost, high impact.
Right.
This is one of them.
Definitely.
Right.
It won't cost a lot of money to redesign the GPL.
Right. It's a heck of a lot cheaper than building a reception center, right? Or some of these other big things that you want to do but are high cost. This is an easy win. And you guys can do this. Now, what I'm going to do, we have some amazing designers working on our staff. So Welton does not know I'm doing this. I'm going to throw this out there right now. If you email us and you are the first one to email us, and you can email, actually, let me do this. If you go to elevatingfuneralservice.com, there's a contact form on there.
Right.
Okay. We have some amazing designers here. If you are the first one to go there and fill that form out and tell us that you want us to redesign your GPL, we'll do it for you for free.
Yep.
Okay.
It'll be fun.
I will take your GPL, but I'm only gonna do one. Okay. It's gonna take a while. Remember that $500 thing? It's real. Okay. So I'm gonna have one of our designers here take your GPL and redesign it for you. And they'll make it absolutely beautiful. It'll be night and day. It'll be like that diet commercial where they show the really big person and the really small person. That's how amazing it's going to be. So if you're the first one to go there and fill that out, you win. It's not going to be a drawing if you're the first one to do it. So go to elevatingfuneralservice.com, fill out the contact form, tell us that you would like us to redesign your GPL for free, and you got it. Okay?
Fun.
It'll be great. And then what we'll do on the next episode, maybe we'll show it. Or we'll do a blog post or something and kind of show that, because again, low cost, high impact, it's an easy win. Thank you guys for listening. We'll have some show notes up. This will be out very shortly. Again, if you found value in this, please give us some feedback. We're easy to find. Go to elevatingfuneralservice.com. Let us know how we're doing. We'd love to hear it. If you have any ideas on topics that you'd like us to cover, we're getting some coming in now. Again, we'd love to hear that, because that helps us learn how to help you guys more. And then also, if you could do us a favor, if you can go to iTunes or wherever you're listening to this, leave a review, subscribe, et cetera. It helps us get the word out more and more. So we certainly appreciate it. And thanks again, everyone. Talk to you later. Okay, see ya.
Bye-bye.